Watching that protest, the sit-in in Beaver Creek for the past hour. At one point, police fired tear gas into the crowd of protesters to get them out of a busy intersection. 2 News reporter Kristen Eskow is there live now. Kristen, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Brooke, we've been monitoring the situation out here. You see now folks are crossing the street. So what had happened was the crowd gathered in front of the Beaver Creek Walmart. They marched down the street intending to go, I heard from some protesters, down to the Beaver Creek Police Department. That's about a 4-mile walk. They had crossed North Fairfield Road. They were standing in the middle of the road, blocking the road, and that's when police, when they would not clear the street, began to fire those tear gas canisters. Now, they had stuck to each side of the street. They had stuck to the grass for about 30-40 minutes or so, but now, just within the past couple minutes, that has broken up, and folks are walking across the street here, both sides. Officers are monitoring the situation here. I see one possibly radioing somebody, trying to figure out what exactly to do here. Right now, North Fairfield Road remains closed here at North Fairfield Road and Pentagon Boulevard. Again, we're continuing to monitor this situation here right now as people begin to walk across North Fairfield Road back and forth, shouting, "Hands up, don't shoot." And they appear to be differing between a couple different chants right now. We just hear a lot of shouting, holding up signs. Officers are in the middle of the intersection here trying to figure out what exactly to do here. We see one grabbing a plastic shield here. Right now the road remains closed as these folks are doing this, but earlier it was not. And officers had asked them to clear the street, and that was when they fired the tear gas when they would not. Since then, though, that was about 20 after 4. Since then, we haven't seen tear gas or anything else deployed by the officers. It was kind of at a sort of a standstill out here between the protesters and the police. They were each sticking to the sides of the road, staying in the grass, chanting, kneeling at times, holding up their signs. And the officers were just standing here in the middle of the intersection, just trying to make sure things don't get out of hand. Now, they're grabbing some plastic shields here, and they're prepared for perhaps something to escalate further here. Right now, we have not seen that happen yet. Tear gas canisters are still in the middle of the street from about 40-45 minutes ago when the tear gas was deployed here. We're seeing the calm down a little bit here in the middle of the road here. Went from several hundred people possibly walking across the road here back and forth, now to just a couple here, maybe a dozen or two. The officers are continuing to monitor this. They're wearing helmets and masks. The road still is blocked off, and we don't just have Beaver Creek police out here. There are several state trooper vehicles that are blocking off North Fairfield Road. So as we head into rush hour here, that's something you want to keep in mind. If you're coming off, especially 675, you're coming off of exit 17 here. So we'll continue to monitor the situation out here, but for now, you see right now the crowd, fewer people in the road. They're heading back each to the corners of the intersection here, heading back into the grass. So hopefully things don't escalate any further. For now, we're going to send it back to Mark and Brooke in the studio.
Hey, Kristen, it's Mark. Great reporting there. You may have seen this earlier. The City of Beaver Creek Police did issue a tweet earlier this afternoon. I'm going to read this. We are aware of a scheduled peaceful protest being organized today at... Oh, more tear gas. Kristen, what are you saying?
Yeah, Mark, the officers just threw tear gas canisters at the folks in the street. Some of them have dispersed to the side of the street. Others have not. They're continuing to pick those up and throw them here. These appear to be Beaver Creek officers throwing the tear gas canisters.
So
and
it appears
tear
that
gas is filling North Fairfield Road right now.
Yeah, it appears even though they've blocked the road off with police cruisers, they do not want the protesters in the intersection.
Well, that's right, because before we had seen, so when they blocked North Fairfield Road originally, before it was shut down, and the police had asked them to disperse, and they did not. They threw those tear gas canisters. The crowd split in half. Half went to one corner of the intersection, the other half went to the other corner. And for about 40-45 minutes, we saw no movement between the two groups. They stood each in the grass, chanting, protesting, kneeling at times. But then, right at the top of the hour here, at about 5 o'clock, right as we were coming on the air, we saw several dozen, if not hundreds of people, walk across the road back and forth here. And the officers were waiting for a couple minutes, perhaps, for things to calm down. They did not, and then we just saw a couple of Beaver Creek police officers throw those tear gas canisters. They're holding up shields right now. They have their helmets and masks on, perhaps prepared for any other disruptions. But right now, everybody now is back on the sides of the road. No one's in the middle of the road right now. No more tear gas being thrown. I see a couple folks walking further down the hill. If we want to go back to the other side of the street, they're walking over toward the TGI Fridays right now. So it's not clear right now folks are going to leave or if they're going to march elsewhere. But so far, right now, some folks are backing off from the intersection. For now, Mark and Brooke, we're going to send it back to you.
Yeah, Kristen, again, just back to that tweet I was reading earlier, the issue this afternoon by Beaver Creek Police. They had put out the word earlier this afternoon the department would be out to ensure First Amendment rights are protected. We asked the demonstrators utilize the public areas in that space and do not enter the roadway or intersection for your safety as well as the safety of the motoring public. So that apparently was the line that, Beaver Creek PD drew earlier this afternoon prior to 4 p.m. They didn't want people in the roads, and once people entered the roads, that is when the scene changed instantly. Does that match with what you saw?
I would say so, Mark. Yeah, that's a really accurate description of what we've seen out here. We're seeing a small handful of folks going back across the road here, but so far officers aren't doing anything about those folks. But when there was a large crowd in the middle of the street, both when the road was open and now when it's closed, that's when the tear gas is being thrown. So it appears Beaver Creek police are holding up their order of folks not staying in the street. And most of the folks right now, we're seeing a couple more folks walk across the street with their hands up here, but most of the folks are staying in the grass on both sides of the intersection here. And I would say there's several hundred people out here. And right now, as of right now, even though more tear gas was thrown, so far, no indication of people dispersing or leaving the area, because we saw some folks kind of scurry down the hill a little bit further off the road when that tear gas was being thrown. Now they've come up closer to the curb, and now we're seeing more and more folks walking across the street here, so you have to wonder if something else is going to happen here. I see kind of officers just standing by watching the situation. Right now, no indication that more tear gas might be thrown.
All right, Kristen, thank you.
We just heard an announcement over the loudspeaker there from one of the officers. Okay,
Kristen, thank you so much. I'm going to give you a break, let you gather some new information for us. In the meantime, we have a second crew. Adam Reif is now on scene as well. Adam, if you are ready to go, tell us where you are, what you're seeing.
You were talking about the roads, keeping people out of the roads, and the line being Beaver Creek Police, that was what the protesters were crossing. That's what we see right now. We are on New Germany Road, which turns into Pentagon Road at that intersection. And this is the east side of that intersection across from where Kristen was. So you're getting the reverse angle of that. The tear gas canisters were thrown to get people out of the street. And as we were walking up to the scene, we were hearing dozens of people shouting at fellow protesters, get out of the street. Even though traffic has been blocked off for several blocks around this intersection, they're still enforcing people, keeping them out of the street seems to be the big thing. As we showed to the right here, a lot of people are now starting to violate that and cross the street. We had a lot of people on the grassy sidewalk in this hill on the intersection that were pushed back from that tear gas as the wind was starting to push that to the north, but they started to come back and now they are crossing the street. I don't know if this is being allowed by police, if they're just letting this happen right now, but people are crossing the street back across Fairfield Road towards the intersection that has the Walmart. So they're asking all protesters to be on the same side of the street. There's a woman here you see with the hat and her mask under her chin. She seems to be organizing a little bit. I just got here. We'll talk to her in a moment to see if she has more information, but we're trying to see how concerted this is, how organized this is. You see right on the corner behind the John Crawford sign, a table with some snacks, bananas and water. So these people seem to be in it for the long haul. But across the street now on the northwest corner of the intersection is where the majority of those protesters are now gathering. We don't see police going up to them, provoking them. They have not moved in on any of the protesters. The only countermeasures so far have been the tear gas. We'll send it back to you in the studio as we get more information here on the scene.